Welcome back to another lesson. In this one, we will be creating a new dungeon that will be added next to our main scene. So you'll be able to go from the main scene to that dungeon later on in the course. But let's go ahead and get started. I've just created myself a new scene, so I went up here, click on New Scene or Control N. I'm going to save this under the name Dungeon 1. You are free to do as much dungeon as you want. Okay. Now you probably notice I have ordered my palette over here on the bottom left, and I am now ready to start editing this thing. So I gotta make sure that my main camera is on size 1 for the orthographic, and then I will right click, create a new 2D object, tile map, go on my grid, and make sure the cell size is 0.16. And we now have the same exact setup as we had inside of the main scene. Now what I will be doing is renaming this one for floor, and I'll be creating a very simple dungeon. It's going to be something quite small. I'll start by just grabbing all of this, go here, paste that somewhere where the user is going to spawn at the very beginning. I'll maybe give it one more row, and then we'll just extend that towards this side, and then maybe go off like this, create another big square, oh my bad, and then maybe go up. I'm just randomly making this pattern right now. I'm not quite sure exactly how yours is going to turn out. Of course, I recommend that you use all your creativity to make some awesome level, but I'm just trying to go fast. Like I said, it's a very small dungeon, but you know, it is going to have all we need for this thing. The boss room is going to be quite big and squarish, and here we go. So I've got pretty much all I need. Now I'm going to start decorating this thing, maybe by changing the floor a little bit. So I'll make sure to take the floor, maybe add a little bit of pattern just like I've done where the player starts. Could add one here. I could technically add one in the boss room as well. And these are kind of dialable, so you could go ahead and just like go on like this and keep on making this and changing until you cover a bigger area, just like I am doing right now. So it's really up to you. You have some tiles you can work with, which is quite cool, and which is also why we love this little tile set. And here we go. Okay. Right, so this is going to be the boss room. Now what I'm going to do is create another layer. I'll just duplicate floor for now. Actually, I won't duplicate floor. If I duplicate floor, I'm going to get this as a copy. We don't want that. So I'll right click, create a new 2D object, a new tile map. The purpose of this tile map is for me to actually keep on working on the floor, keep on making the floor, adding walls next to it, adding some visual stuff around the floor, but there are some places where it overlaps. So let me put that on active tile map, other, and then I will go ahead and just use these at the top here, and I am going to put them right on top. Something like this. Now, like I mentioned, I want to be able to overlap, like over here. This is overlapping the floor. If we were on the floor layer, this would actually disappear, something like this. So we don't want that. This is why we created a new layer. Now also, let's make sure our other is higher in priority. So I'll put order in layer 1. And let's keep on creating this. We can copy a tile that is already in place by holding control. And the rest is just your usual tile map stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead, quickly fill this in. I don't want to be taking too much time because this is not, you know, this is not your creative thing. We're here to code, we're here to learn how to make the game. Don't want to spend too much time making the level, but just know that level design is a whole other thing. It's a whole other art that you'll have to master if you want to make some very good game. Unfortunately, this is not a course about it. I wish it was, but it's a lot longer to explain, and a lot of more feeling based stuff, which I don't have so much as a programmer at the moment. Okay, final one. we are then going to be able to start spawning the wall around this. Oops, mistake here. We could go ahead and start spawning these beneath, but you know what, I will be doing that last. I'll start by just adding as much stuff as I can, and I'll reserve that long and annoying part for the very end. Alright, now over here we could also be putting a fountain. I was thinking about putting it here, but that's not really making any sense with the amount of tile we have, so let's go ahead and expand that to one more on this side, and also one more on this side here. Alright, I'll go back on the other, just fix this little mess. Good thing we have the control key and the shift key to remove. And I'll also go back on floor and do something of the sort over here. Okay, now we should have everything we need to lay down a fountain, so I'll be doing that over here. Oh, I'm still on the floor. Let's go back. Let's do that on the other. Now we can go. Let's put that on the floor. That's fine. And I might need another wall. And here we go. So we have a fountain. This is where the player is actually going to go heal himself before he go fights the boss. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the rest of this thing. Going to fill in the rest with these walls over here, and I'll just make sure to put a bunch of them pretty much everywhere. Okay, so I'm pretty much done adding all of these walls, as you can see here. One thing here is that I cannot keep on adding walls at places like here, simply because it's going to go over this layer. So the best way to fix this would be to actually create a new UI tile map and just sneak that in between. So I'll go here, tile map, and I'll just call that floor dash other. I'll put that order 1, and I'll make sure other is on 2. And it's gonna be something I just put in between. As you can see, it should technically, oh, I'm not on the right tile map here. On the active tile map, I'll go on floor other, and if you can see here, I will sneak this in right in between. Now, I'm not sure if this actually looks good. I don't think it looks good, so I'll be getting rid of this here and that one there, and I'll just replace this other thing here by a little bit of shadow. And here we go. So that's going to be first level. Now, in terms of what's going to be inside of it, like the gameplay prefab we're going to put inside of it, so the chests, the enemies, we're going to be doing that in the future. Right now we have something we can just play around with, and you know, that's all. So I hope you understood a little bit of how to use this tile map. The feature is still a little bit bugged. If you're using this in 2017.2, you might run into some bugs. I'm not going to lie, I had a bit of a problem making this tile palette stays the way it is right now. Actually, I was not able to do it just yet, since the progress was being reset every time, which is quite annoying. But if you do run this a little bit later, hopefully the bug is fixed. But until then, we are going to do what we can with what we have. But there is one thing left. We're going to right click on grid to the object and make sure we have a collision layer. Let's put that layer on blocking. Make sure we have a tile collider 2D, and let's draw right on top of it. So I'm going to take the black square and start drawing. Make sure your active tile map is on collision, and you're going to go ahead and just start drawing the collision over here. You can see it pops as green, or you can just put the order in layer to say something like 5, something that is above everything, so you can see. And I'll just go around and do this. Should be fairly easy to do. We only have a small level thus far. And make sure you don't forget the pillars over here. So I'll go ahead and do a little dot for those pillars. If you do a mistake, hold shift. There you go. And that would be our collision for this whole level. Fairly simple. Once you're completed, go ahead and turn off the tile map renderer, but the collision are still going to be there. Alright, now that should be complete for the section 3. I do encourage you to make your own level, make a bigger level. This one is quite simple, and it's going to be only used to test out the mechanic we'll implement in the game. But of course, I don't create so much content on Discord. You are encouraged to do that on your end though. Okay, so that concludes the section 3. I will see you in section 4.